So you moved back. When did you move back here from New York?
Officially, it would be end of August. I was up here, remember, beforehand.
Right, when the quarantine
was going on. But then I went back to New York in August just for 2 weeks, and then I came up here.
So you officially in August, that's when you went and bought your furniture, right?
Well,
so when did you get your apartment?
I got my apartment end of September.
This is a great story. I want everybody to listen to this. George, and I went shopping with him for his furniture. He went furniture shopping September-ish.
Yeah, towards the end of September.
How's that furniture? Is it nice?
The order was canceled last week. I canceled it.
Right. It kept getting dragged out.
Yeah.
Why?
Supply chain.
Supply chain.
Our favorite phrase. Supply
Everywhere
chain.
you go, it's a supply chain.
Supply chain. But meanwhile, we won't say that company because
I didn't want you to.
No, I know. But they other competitors didn't have the same issues. I just think they're lousy at logistics when times are tough.
So all these months went by. Did you contact at all during that time, or did they give you a window? Say, it'll be a week to 4 months.
There was a window, and the last window was it'll be second week in December. And I remember, I think you were with me. We were in store at the time, and remember I made the comment, I said, oh, good, maybe depending on COVID, we can have a small group over because my apartment's pretty big. We can all hang out at the dinner table. That would be nice because it was, remember the round dinner table that was supposed to come, all that.
It was a nice table.
I mean, these are all like BS problems, but you know what I mean? Yeah. So then in December, though, it's like, it'll be December, probably just after Christmas. Then it was like January 18th, and then it went to February 9th, and then they said March, and I was like, that's it. I'm out.
And then
I'm done.
And you got all your money back.
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
But what's it? I mean, you're in that apartment with nothing. You have nothing.
I have 6.
What do you have, a milk crate?
I have 6 dining chairs.
And a folding chair?
I have 6 dining chairs because the competition got me my chairs in 30 days. No, 42 days.
Got to have a cable spool. You don't have the cable spool?
Yeah, do you have the cable spool for a table?
No. No, it's sitting with the railroad ties in storage. Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, that's too bad. It's got to suck. I mean, I would have thought you would have had.
Yeah, I have an air mattress and a coffee table, and I've got like 6 dining chairs.
Do you have a futon or a papasan?
No. And I've got in the office. I've got the table coming this week from somebody else that knows how to do logistics. My work table. So I have a work table and a stool.
But I think you can say who gave you your chairs. That's fine. They won.
Yeah, our house.
Our house.
ARHOUS. Our house. Yeah. They were good.
You probably just won them some business.
They were great.
All right, George, who do you got today?
I am very excited. We have, this is a great departure for us with all the different types of guests we have on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We've got Chris Weyant. He is the ultimate cartoonist and illustrator, straight out of New York. Has done cartoons for The New Yorker. So our listeners are going to love that. They've also been featured and syndicated worldwide. Been on the Today Show, Meet the Press.
Oh, he's been on, and his work's been on Playboy. Playboy, too.
Oh,
Fernando, I like that.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
I did my research.
We'll ask Chris about that. I neglected that. I should have figured you'd pick up on that. World News Tonight. And then also various awards that we'll talk to. His cartoons are in a permanent collection at the Whitney Museum and the Morgan Library in New York City, which is pretty huge.
That's huge. Yeah.
And he is also a Neiman Fellow for our intellectuals out there, Julie. And he's the second cartoonist to receive this honor in the 75-year history.
75. That's
75-year history.
Yeah, cool.
So we are excited, Chris. I hope I did you justice. I hope you're still on the line, and welcome. We're excited to have you here at the Curious George podcast. We're very honored. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me, man. And my mom would appreciate that intro. It's all lies, but thank you.
Good. That's great. No, we love it. So, Chris, normally it's all about storytelling, and it inspires current and future leaders. And sometimes we start at the beginning. I'd like to kind of start with the how it's going, and then we'll do the how it started, because I think how it started, how you pivoted, which I really want to ask about, but I don't want to spoil it for the guests yet. Let's start about right now, like. We're in the time that we're in. Just what like currently, what do you have going on, and what's been happening in your world?
It's been, I don't know about everybody else, but for me, it's been a crazy couple of years. I don't know if anyone's recognized, maybe there's some things going on in the world that make me tired, like COVID and Trump administration. So I just think it personally affects me and no one else. That's the way I'm going to approach it.
Yeah.
It's been busy. I have a couple different hats I wear as a cartoonist. So I'm like, as a political cartoonist, I work for the Globe and Boston Globe. So, and that's going to be like exhausting because I have to read the news every day, this, like a deep read of many newspapers. And that's really, really tiring. But then I have other things like the New Yorker magazine, which I do. And then I also am a children's book illustrator, which I have a new book coming out, which I'm going to plug.
Oh, we are going to plug it now, and we're going to plug it at the end of the show. Please.
It's called Hudson, Tullulah, and Take Sides. It's about a cat and a dog that have to learn how to be friends when you don't have the same kind of opinion and don't see the world the same way. So that's coming out, which is great. And so it's been busy. That was written by my wife, Anna Kang, which we can talk about a little bit too.
Yes, I've got her on my list.
Very talented writer.
And future guest.
Oh, really?
But it's been busy. So I mean, times like these for humorists, as you guys know, is it's a busy time. There's a lot, I think, to say, and I think everybody has something to. I have a lot of steam to blow off. And so it's been busy. It's been really, but it's been tiring. Like everybody getting up in the morning and then trying to find something and the energy just to get dressed has been a little bit of a challenge. So,
and then are you on the Twitter? Do you get a lot of feedback on Twitter on your work, or how does that work?
I do. I get less on Twitter. Twitter seems to swallow me. Twitter, I think you have to tweet a lot, and I can barely keep up with like somebody was just telling me of something else that just oh, you got to be on this. I'm like, oh man, do I?
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram a lot. I love Instagram because it's visual. Yep. So it's a great place for cartoonists. And I should be more on Twitter. I post, probably once a day, but that's nothing for Twitter. So I do get a lot of lovely hate mail through Instagram and Facebook, which is nice. And that's always a good way to start the day. It's usually, I think it was on Christmas Day, I woke up and turned on my computer and just had this old lady just tearing into me. Like,
oh my God.
I thought it was kind of special.
Do you respond to these people?
Some of them I do, and some of them are clearly, why open that door? You just wanted to yell at somebody. I could have been like the telephone pole you need to yell at, or the car, or the dog on the street. So I think that's my purpose. Someone to vent at.
Chris, I went through a bunch of your New Yorkers on your Instagram, and I also Googled some of them, and the comedy writing is outstanding. It's so funny. And I read a bunch of them, and I'm like, it was just like we talked to Mike Henry from Family Guy not too long ago. Yeah. He's the voice of Cleveland. And we talked to him about those, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with the show, but we talked about the cutaways they do. They're 5 seconds long, and they're quick, and they're super smart, and they make you laugh in that 5-second span. So with your writing, and it's the same thing. It's just usually a sentence or two, and the visual, and it's perfect. And then I realized you're a comedy writer, and I figured it out is because you were raised by a Catholic father and a Jewish mother. It's the perfect recipe for comedy writing. He's got them both.
Yeah.
It was like, and having I went to Catholic school too for the entire, the comedy in my family was that my parents thought this would be a great joke on me.
Yeah.
To give me 12 years of schooling as a half Jew. That's Catholic schooling in the 70s.
So
that creates nothing but pressure.
So did you ever, was it something comedy, was it something you ever thought about doing, stand-up comedy?
No, I didn't. There's a lot, some of the New Yorker cartoonists are stand-up comics, and we have a lot of have always come from like our authors and so forth. And we have a lot of TV writers now, actually, over the last 10 years or so, 20 years.
Nice.
But no, because it was like, I grew up in New Jersey, and the idea of doing anything in a creative field was not, at the time I grew up, which is in the 70s and 80s, it wasn't you didn't do that. You go get a real job, make some money. The idea of doing that as a hobby, when I told my parents I was going to be a cartoonist, they almost plotzed. I mean, it was just the worst, and then years later, they're like, oh, okay. At this point, you're not going to die.
Well, that's a great segue. So speaking of that, from what I read, it was all about you were going to go into law.
Yeah.
So your parents really must have plotzed when it's like, oh, our son, the lawyer, he's going to be a lawyer. Oh my God.
Right.
And now it's like, no. So how did you come to that decision? And from what I gather, you didn't go to law school. That was the plan though, right?
That was the plan.
That was the plan. All right. So I think we'd all love to hear how you made that pivot.
Yeah.
I had, because I was thinking about this, like when I had when I was growing up, I had unusual job choices in my head. Like I was the second shortest kid in my class for like most of my early school years.
Okay.
I went to a variety of schools, and no matter what school we moved to, no matter which school I went to, I was always like the second shortest, which is considered a blessing because you're not the first shortest. So there's always some schmuck who's going to be a little bit low at that time. But anyway, in my brilliance, I thought literally that, I'm never going to grow, so I should probably start taking riding lessons to learn how to be a jockey. And like that was actually my first, and then later moved on to thinking maybe I'll be a ventriloquist.
Oh no!
And then I know this is where you see the cartoonist later go, yeah, it's another stupid choice. So then finally, I just got into international politics and law, and I really loved it, and it's great. And the study of law is super exciting, and for me, and I just thought from early on that this is like maybe high school all the way through college. Really thought that was going to be it. And then I pivoted because I met a bunch of lawyers who weren't happy with their jobs. And I know now I know a lot of lawyers who are happy with their jobs as well. But I got an internship. My stepdad got me an internship in New Jersey with a guy called Nick Bissell. And he was the prosecutor for Somerset County, which is one of our biggest counties.
Yeah, in Jersey, yep.
Right. And so in the 80s, if you ever look up this guy, you got Google Nick Bissell. So Nick Bissell was Chris Christie before Chris Christie, right? He's this morbidly obese guy who's full of power and
full of something.
And he was the guy who was busting drug. He had a drug bust like huge. The guy, when they lay out all the drugs on the table, like in Florida.
Yeah.
So he was doing lots of those. And it turns out
kind of like Cannon.
Yeah. And I remember I went to see him. So this is a big deal for me to get the clerk, to get an internship with him. This is it. He's the prosecutor. Oh my God. And I go in there and this is 1984. And I go in and I sit down in front of him, in front of the prosecutor's desk. It's just me and him and this other guy who I'll be working with. And he says, I got my tie and jacket. I'm still in school, college. And he says, do you need to know where the ladies' room is? And I'm like, I'm sorry? He's like, well, you might want to use the ladies' room.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, what the? I had an earring in my ear.
Oh, my God.
And he's making this totally homophobic, horrible joke. And this is my first meeting with, the great Nick Bissell. And so, I went down and I worked for him for the whole summer. And I was so...
The whole summer you made it?
Wow. Did you get rid of the earring?
What are you going to do? I worked hard.
That's a Question.
Did you get rid of the earring or did you keep it?
No, yeah, I had to take it right out.
Oh,
and
wow.
And so then in the end, this is the big deal, and an earring. And then he ended up stealing money from gas stations that he owned, I guess. And then he ended up getting caught and running down to Atlantic City or Vegas, and he killed himself in a hotel room. Classic ugly Jersey politics.
Wow.
And I'm like, maybe law's not for me. Maybe it's not the.
Yeah, it's like I'll take the ladies' room over that any day. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. And it was a good choice. I'm grateful to Nick for kind of getting me a little bit thrown off, because what happened was I ended up feeling like this was not something I was good at. I've met a lot of great lawyers, and I don't have those skills
right
at all.
So, all right. So that happens with Nick. So as soon as that summer's over, what was your next step?
So after so then I was lost. I was completely in the weeds.
Okay, let's dive into that.
Years of, and this is where we're talking about my friend Julie. I even went down to Washington during school when I was in university, and did separate semester down there because I thought maybe I'd become a lawyer and become a political consultant. That was my goal. Yeah. And at that time, political consulting wasn't as lucrative as now. I think I kind of missed the boat on that. So,
yeah, that's a boat that's okay to miss.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
Everybody's one now.
Man. Oh, okay.
Yeah, everybody's one now. I'm going to be one.
Exactly. It's like, and they're just throwing money at you. It's like plastics.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I was totally lost. And my poor parents, I was living at home for the summer. The Berlin Wall came down. I went over to go see what's going on, to go do that for a little bit. I came back and applied for a job at the Council on Foreign Relations, which is a think tank, a really great think tank, foreign policy. And I got it. I was lucky.
Wow.
And it was just a really entry-level position, and I stayed there for a long time. Became the advertising manager for Foreign Affairs magazine, and it was great. That was a great job.
Got it. So you did all right. So that started the advertising. That started the cartoon illustration, all that. Well, no, cartooning, the political cartoons.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it was still like cartooning is a thing you do. You know, it's like cartooning for me. I mean, I had always been doing cartooning and painting in college, and cartooning when I was a kid, and you get in a lot of trouble in Catholic school if you're for doodling in the margins, which I was, had a million detentions for. It's not the kind of thing, though, you go and have a job. It just wasn't like, if I told my parents I was going to be a stand-up comic, they know they knew Johnny, they knew Jay Leno, they could get that. This was not, and my dad did cartooning for the Intrepid, which is the boat, the ship in the New York Harbor.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, it's not totally out of, but somehow I think it's just too much of a parent's worry. So it never was on my radar. Right. Ever as a profession. I was just, and then I got into advertising and I did really well there. And I was, 27 and doing, advertising executive, and the council is all about international politics. And you meet, you met Dalai Lama and Gorbachev and it was super cool. Yeah, it was the greatest place. If you like that stuff, it was it's just like the Hall of Fame of international politics.
So illustrating wasn't on your radar at all, right? But you grew up with a dad who was a cartoonist. Your grandma was a fashion illustrator in the 20s, right. And your mom was an interior decorator. So there's all kinds of artistic juices in the family. I feel like it trickled down to you, but they weren't pushing you to do it.
No, but you really did your research. Thank you. They were very encouraging of it. So my parents always bought me like art supplies and stuff. Right. Okay. And I think anyone who does anything at home, there is an environment that creates that interest or welcomes it. I think it's just when it becomes a profession, and it's different now, like with graphic novels and so forth. It was cartoons then were like, you got a comic strip, and outside of that, what else is there? Right. Animation, there's so many more ventures. Being animation is a great career path. Sure. But you'd be working for Disney or it just wasn't the same market as it is now. So, and the New Yorker magazine was completely off of, because that just seemed to exist in another universe. The crossing the river to New York, which we did, was a big part of my childhood. But going into New Yorker just seemed, how could that possibly happen?
So how did that possibly happen? Yeah.
Well, so I started cartooning when I was an executive when I was doing advertising. I was so bored. That was a great sign. The best way to get into arts field is you find that you've done well in your field, and then you're really just bored every day, and it's interesting in a lot of ways. But then my brother's working on a newspaper in upstate New York, and he said they have a position it's a local paper in North County News in northern Westchester. And he said, hey, they're looking for a cartoonist. So if you want to factor stuff in without your signature, just change your name a bit. And you can put them in with the bunch. And so I did, and they said, great. And I think I did that for once a week for free or for $5. And I love that so much more than my regular life that I decided I should give this a shot. Yeah. So that's actually what made me make the jump. I decided, okay, I'm in advertising. I can always go back to advertising.
Right. That's your safety school. You built a really nice safety school. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I'm set. Advertising is not going to go anywhere. And so I'm young and stupid. And so I'm like, this is great. And I decided I didn't want to be a starving artist. So I saved money for a whole year. And
we've heard this story before. It's great. Yeah.
Right? And you just pile away. It helps your focus, and I think it gives you time to make the jump. And then I knew I had Cobra insurance, health insurance for 18 months.
Yep.
That was my window. So I'm going to quit. 18 months, I will revisit and see how that works. And so that's what I did. Then I made the jump. And I remember the secretary of Les Gelb, who was the president of the council, said, when she heard that I was quitting to become a cartoonist, she said, that's like me saying I'm quitting to become a cabaret dancer.
Right.
And all I'm thinking is, well, why not? That'd be pretty cool than what you're doing.
Yeah, but was she in dance at all?
Like cabaret dancer? Easy.
Yeah. I almost would take that as an insult, though, because at least you had the background to go be a cartoonist, where it's like, did she have the background to be a cabaret dancer?
Lola.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right.
So in a way, it's an insult.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, one thing I just want to focus on, and I'll talk about it at the end in my wrap up though, but what I love is, again, we've seen this from some of our most successful guests and now including you, where, you consciously saved up the money. You created this window. You knew the window you wanted to go through, but you had to save up your money. You created this window to jump through, knowing that, hey, this is going to last me. In some cases, we had one guest that it lasted 2 years. In your case, 18 months. But this is your window to make the jump. I've got my health insurance. I got some money saved. I'm gonna go do this. We had a really famous film editor on. Did the same thing. Just saved up his money and was like, okay, now I can take jobs pro bono or for almost nothing. But I'm going to get experience and make the contacts and try to make my mark.
And he got an Oscar.
Eventually. So here we are. And I think in today's world, and again, we don't have to go down this road too far because that's a whole other topic, but kids these days, it's like the kids these days, seriously, it's like, oh, I'm just going to go on Instagram. Maybe I'll make some money. Maybe I'll be an influencer. It's like, no. You got to get a job.
Yeah.
You got to go get like a tactile job somewhere, I think. Save up a little cash and then go for that. Go, take the time to build a following if you want to do Instagram or if you want to be a consultant like I did. I saved up my money and took a couple years and just did that. I really love that. And I'm glad you made a point of telling us that because honestly today, I don't see it as much. I just see people that like, they just want to make a certain salary or they expect a certain title. I'm like, well, what experience do you have to do that?
And when I quit, I quit and I had savings, but I also temped. Like I worked as a cater waiter for mafia weddings, like in the Puck building.
That is like awesome.
It was pretty awesome. Later, I was like, I'm really grateful for the content.
Hey, Paulie, I'm talking here. Huh?
Yeah. There's always like there's this. I remember this coming back. There's one lady's like, "Do you get the shrimps? Come and see. You get more shrimps than I'm gonna."
I got to tell you, Chris, irregardless of all this. Please continue.
Yeah. So, but I did, and then I ended up, I even worked at Bear Stearns, the defunct, tied laces of the financial market that made everything trip and fall down. That's which I like to think I had a little part of maybe, but you would do anything. And when I have two daughters and I do notice that with like our younger generation that they are, in their summers, some of them work to some degree, but you can babysit or whatever, but you're also going to take courses. And same with, kids are coming out of college, they can do some things like that. It's a different sort of world than I grew up with, which is you're working. I've been working since I was 13.
Yep.
Like there's always a job. And they were always the worst jobs. I mean, these are like the grimiest, and that, below busboy, you're the guy who's just cleaning things in restaurants and hoping to get through the weekend. You just make some money so you can buy a pair of speakers and, like that kind of life. And it was great because everything you do is easier and then those jobs. And then also, to like kind of put your ego down and go do the hard work while you're waiting for the bigger work to come. And so that was so I don't want it to seem like, well, I just quit and I didn't just live off my money. I really made it stretch by supplementing.
Sure.
With whatever else I could
you kept
do.
active. It's not like you took a siesta. Trying to find yourself like so many people try to do now.
Cartooning. Right. Yeah. So, it's like also, well, that's the first thing because you're terrified. You're just going to like, wake up the day after you quit and, like blow all your money on a trip to Greece or whatever, which I thought.
No, my dad made a joke about that once. He goes, this friend of mine, his daughter keeps saying, oh, she's trying to find herself. He's like, well, find yourself because your father can find you. He knows where to send the check every month. Yeah, right. I'm like, all right. Yeah, whatever.
That's great.
That's good.
So, all right. So you make the jump to New York. You're at the New Yorker. What was that? And I feel like I should know this, so apologies. But what was your breakout? What was the cartoon? Everybody has that moment. You can call it the aha moment. You already had your aha moment because you knew what you wanted to get into. But what was that tipping point? What was that moment? What was that tipping point cartoon? Or was it even a cartoon?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Or was it a culmination, maybe?
Yeah, because the world of cartooning, it's kind of like in stand up. I mean, I guess maybe in stand up you can have a great set or a set that gets you to someplace else. You getting into with cartooning, you're really just doing it joke by joke, right? So you're selling. I submit to the New Yorker about 10 cartoons a week. I've been doing that, I think, with only 2 weeks off.
Wow.
I do it every week. I have boxes and boxes of rejects, as do all the other cartoonists. And so out of, what you might sell at a batch of 10, you probably, maybe 3 weeks, you'll sell one. So it's 29 rejected cartoons, not all brilliant, but
wow.
That feeling of making it never hits, which probably is a good thing.
Yep.
In some ways, because you just keep it weeds out those who are just sort of like, oh, this is fun, I'll be a cartoonist.
Yeah.
Which is great, but this is about something else inside you that you need to have. You want to express yourself this way and get others to laugh or look at the world or the pathos of your life or whatever. Yeah. I think that the first cartoon I got in, I think, and for everybody, it's like You're Special, because I submitted once under Lee Lawrence, and I was working at Bear Stearns. I was doing temping at Bear Stearns, and I would ask for my lunch break, and I'd run over from Bear Stearns on Park Avenue over to the old New Yorker offices on 42nd Street, like arrive there sweaty, and have my meeting early with nobody but me and the cartoonist William Hamilton, who never said a word. He's just too shy. And then I'd have my meeting and then I'd run back and I'd never eat. So that would be every Tuesday. I wouldn't eat lunch.
That's like a movie almost. It's kind of
like Michael J. Fox.
I can see the movie. Success. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'll take that. Yeah. Like Michael J. Fox. I was as good looking as him and as personable.
Yeah.
And, but it was like, that was your thing. And then, and eventually I got one. He said, Lee Lawrence had great stuff and but keep submitting. And I'm like, oh. That was it. That was my whole shot. That's all I had. Like I had those cartoons and they were all already published anyway.
Right.
And finally they changed editors and Bob Mankoff came in and it took me a whole year to get another batch together and I submitted with him and then I sold my first one.
Okay. Which one is that?
It's a Prozac cartoon. It was actually about my family and the holidays and it's about a gigantic jug of Prozac and it says now in holiday strength.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So that's my first cartoon, which I keep on my wall. It's actually back here.
So, Chris, I think we missed a part here when we're talking about how, when he went to school for law and then, he's an artist. Did you have any formal training? Like you went to Gettysburg College, which isn't known for arts, I'm sure. But I'm sure you took some courses there. But did you have any formal training before that or are you self-taught?
I'm pretty much self-taught. I mean, if you look at my work, you go, oh yeah, that makes sense.
No,
it's like
it's outstanding.
I think in Gettysburg, I took one cartoon class. My dad actually got me. He was friends. Now this is odd. So he was friends with a political cartoonist for the Bergen Record, which is the Bergen County, Northern New Jersey major newspaper, and they went to school together. So he was teaching a course in cartooning and I went to that, but it was mostly grown-ups and I was like 10 or 11. And because I did cartoon a lot as a kid. And so I guess my folks were like, sure, let's go, do that. And the course wasn't that great. And then I kept running away because they were doing nudes in the next room. And I would walk by the door, like me and this other kid would just kept walking past the nudes until they realized now they have to put up a scrim because we're creepo. That was my memory of that cartoon class. I didn't learn much except for, well, I guess I did. I learned a lot. Actually.
Yeah.
It turns out. But there wasn't much instruction. When I was in Gettysburg, I did take painting courses and studio art when I was there. I had trouble getting into the art department because I was political science and economics. And then, and the only thing I could show them was cartooning. For T-shirts and other cartoons I had done, and they didn't value that enough to get into intro to drawing. I couldn't get into intro to drawing with drawings. That's how low cartooning was kind of like seen at the time. Yeah, it really sucked. And I finally had somebody who was there, an art major, a good friend of mine, pull up strings for me and say, please, you got to get them in. And then once you're in, you can take other courses. But so that was it. That was it. I mean, I used to paint, when I was in advertising, I'd run downtown and paint like on Varick Street and like on the basement, you pay $5 and stay for an hour and paint stuff. And that was fun.
Those were the days.
How many artists are there at the New Yorker? Is it just you or are there more than...
It's just me.
Just you?
Yeah.
Wow.
There used to be about a stable of 30. We have a new editor, Emma, who's come in. And with that, they've really expanded the base of cartoonists. I think she's had 60 in the 2 years she's been there, 3 years. So we have a lot more cartoonists. Many of them are very, very new. Some of them are really, really talented. Some have never cartooned before. and are better at long form. And so it's a I would guess now maybe, I don't even know the number, so maybe 70, but of which, how many of them are doing full-time cartooning? There's not, sadly, I don't think full-time cartoonists, there's as many. But there's a lot of new talent.
Yeah. That's good to hear that there's new talent, because you figure everybody now is just trying to get like the hottest post on Instagram. They're not trying to do like that Family Guy episode, for Pete's sake. Where Peter did the crazy cartoon. I mean,
Chris, earlier he sold himself short. He goes, "You can tell by my drawings that." But I know those drawings. I don't even read the New Yorker, ever. But I know the style. I know the style because I've seen the illustrations before. So your style is eye-catching.
You put them up in homes. These are residents. Yeah, you'd put this. You would put this. I'd put this up in my house.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. Well, there's nothing in there. That's the thing.
You're welcome.
You don't have a table yet. When you get a table,
I know. I'm like, here I am, like talking about art, and nothing else there. Maybe I can just make a museum.
If you need daily affirmation, you call us. We got it for you.
Be careful.
So let's jump. So you meet your very talented wife and celebrated author Anna Kang.
Yep.
You guys get married. Where did and let me just tell you, folks, the first book, I think of the first book you guys did together was You Are Not Small, which was a #1 bestseller. That was in 2014, I believe, or 2012. No. Yeah, 2014. Yeah, I got it. So You Are Not Small, #1 bestseller. You did this with. How did you and Anna get to this? How did you get to this point? Where did did she come up with the stories and you're like, hey, I can do that? Or like, how did this all come about? Because the series, we'll get to that in a minute as you talk about it, but it's been super successful. You guys have had 6, 7 books now?
Yeah, 6. I'm working on the 6th actually presently for that series, and then we have others as well. Anna had been after me for ages to do a children's book, and there's a long history of New Yorker cartoonists who do children's illustration. James Stevenson and Arno, and there's a bunch of us, and so it's always it was just kind of part of that world that we live in, and I've always felt like children's books is kind of like the first art gallery when you're a kid. It's when you spend a lot of time looking at this great art, and something I always wanted to do. But I was working for The Hill, which is a newspaper. I was a political cartoonist for The Hill in D.C., and I was doing 4 or 5 cartoons a week, plus my 10 for The New Yorker, and the other stuff.
And that's so where that's where your stuff was on, probably Today Show, Meet the Press, World News Tonight.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's all. That's coming from there. And then Anna, when I left to go to be a cartoonist, shortly thereafter, Anna, who I met at the council, she got into USC Film School. She was really interested in making films and documentaries, and so she went to USC, and we kind of dated separately for a while bi-coastally, and then I moved to LA. Was still while doing my cartoons, and then. In 2000, I guess it was 2013, I was, it was 2013. I was laid off from The Hill. So basically the owner of The Hill, I guess, was doing cost cutting. And so I got rid of me, and they got rid of the publisher. We were all the expensive people. Yep. And then eventually even my editor in chief. And then, so they kind of swept house. And then I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? And Anna's like, this is it. This is the time. We've been looking for, you wanted to do it. So she had a story that she wrote. She wrote a couple others. And I had a meeting with Holly McGee from Pippin Properties, who's now our agent. And so I was hoping to get an agent, and we met with her and showed her some stuff. You Are Not Small was the throwaway. We had 4 really good stories that she wrote, and one that was a throwaway. And of course,
that's how it,
And it was totally, it was completely cinematic. It was like, she's like, oh no, that's the one. I did some sketches. She's like, those are the sketches. We sold it. And then it just kind of took off from there. It was just really, it was just a fun book. It was just a great book. And then I went to a series.
Yeah. And then you went to the series. So the theme of it, which I think ties into kind of what we do as adults, but for kids, it's like, how do you engage? How do you get along with others that are different?
Yeah.
And it doesn't do it in a way that's too pandering. I think it's just, basically you guys are trying to find your harmony, right? You're trying to harmonize. That's right. What I get from the series.
That's right. That's great. That's a great way of looking at it. Yeah, it was. I mean, I think it was for Anna. These, and I didn't write these books. These are all Anna's creations, and we worked together on it. But for You Are Not Small is great because it's seen as is this really deft little book where it's only 88 words, and it's kind of about a book about size, right? But it really, for her, it was a lot about being. She's Korean American and being in America, and that, you know, things look. What looks different to us, so it looks different to them. And so who your people are, it's just a matter of perspective, and it's about sides and how you can just start to see people differently and recognize that we don't have one answer. And so it really was this great allegorical book, which I just loved. And in the end, it's just a nice children's book. It's just a fun read.
So out of those, so you're working, there's another book in the series that you guys are working on now. And then Hudson and Tullulah is different. Right. So you got another book coming out in the You Are Not Small series. And if you go, guys, I mean, if you go on Amazon, you can check it out. It's pretty amazing. But
there's also a book called Eraser, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And my wife actually has read that to her classroom. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
That's great. I love that.
Yep.
That makes me happy. Yeah.
She hadn't heard of the You Are Not Small books. She hadn't heard of those, but she's heard of Eraser. So she will be getting the You Are Not Small books. So.
Oh, great. Yeah. It's the fun, the fun from all of the work I do is for adults is really fun. Like I'm really lucky because I get to do the political cartoon stuff, which is kind of the way I like to approach it, is kind of heavier hitting. And then the New Yorker stuff, which is, I like to mine pathos, which is that's my particular breed of cartoon, the humor and suffering.
Sure.
And then you have the stuff for kids, and it's just like the stuff for kids is where like they're learning to read, like they read off your book. That's the one that ignited their reading, and it's just
that's got to feel great.
What a legacy!
Really great.
Yeah.
It was like makes me feel like a better person.
Well, yeah. Not only that though, it's just like how to handle like if kids read these books, it's like you just learn how to handle things for the future.
Right.
Like you're learning how to engage. Yeah. People are going to be different. Kids are going to look different. You're going to have different neighbors. And as time goes on, I mean, please, you're going to have kids that are blended races, and people are going to look different. You have kids that have certain, disabilities. Maybe some can't hear, some can't see, and how kids deal with that instead of doing what they would have done in the past.
Yeah.
It's like, what a legacy to leave.
Definitely.
I like the way the series is. Like I said, it harmonizes differences. I love the way that comes across.
So with a book like You Are Not Small, like how long does it take to create the characters?
Yeah, what's the
how
process?
Many thumbnails and stuff? Like I read that Walt Disney, he when he created Mickey Mouse, he used circles because circles were appealing to kids. It was something about the circles that kids liked. When you create for your books, are you thinking of things that are going to be appealing to kids, like the colors or the shapes you're using?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
For You Are Not Small specifically, we wanted to create. Anna had the idea that she wanted to make sure it's also gender neutral, just in general, so we don't have to assign a gender. So like it was, and it's tricky to write where you don't say someone's name, right?
Oh yeah.
So she had an idea for like some sort of like robot-y kind of creator, and this is like, again, I don't know how to draw that. I try to draw it, and my skill only went so far, but I'm like, I can draw something that's furry and fuzzy and warm. And so yeah, I designed them so that they could be actually they're both the shape of an egg, because the egg shape is very appealing to the eye. So I'm like, I'm gonna see if I can do that. And so the basic shape is like an egg, and I'm like, oh, that's really smart. And then I'm like, but I really want them to be furry and tactile, since there's so few words that you can really feel close to them. And because it's my first book, it takes like hundreds and hundreds of pen brush strokes. It's just such a stupid thing to do, because now I'm locked into like I'm talking tens of thousands of brush strokes per book to get them to give that look of like lots of fur on them. And so every time I'm like, oh man, what are you thinking? But yeah, we did some things I thought out well and other ones, and then they were they're opposite. They look, the characters have to look, to the viewer, we know that they're the same. They're just different in size. They're almost identical. They just have different color. And so again, repeating the theme of, are they really so different or not?
Yeah. So what? I mean, I'm sure there's a ton of advice you could give, but because I know there's a lot of people listening, and I know a few people in particular that are trying to kind of break in. They have ideas, they're illustrating their books, and now there's like, there's the small Publishizer is one company, I think, that you can just apply online. They talk to you, and then they do a campaign to get your book. I mean, with the way of publishing, what's the way to go now? Do you still go to the big publishers? Do you go to the small independents? Some of these online things, I think it's just they try to raise money like a Kickstarter for you. I mean, I don't know how well that works, but I'm just curious, since you've been through the process, and I know a lot of the listeners would be curious about that too. Like what's once you have the concept, maybe you've drawn out a few things, like where do you go?
I think if you're the author and illustrator, that's good. What I do get, I get a lot of questions just on this week where somebody's, would like to hire me because they're writing a script. And the thing I didn't realize, which I can pass along, one of the things is that if you're going to a publishing house, they don't want you to come with the illustrator. If you've written a script, if you've written a story, don't go and try to spend the money to go hire an illustrator. I've heard a lot of people approach me and others just about like, well, how much should I spend? I'm like, don't spend anything, because what the editors want to do is, if they like your story, they want to assign one of the artists that they like to it. And if they don't like the artist and they like your script, they'll reject the whole package. So don't do that. Save yourself the money and heartbreak. Just the best thing to do is, I think is if you go to all the publishing houses, look at their websites, look if they have something similar to what you're the story that you're doing, or something that you think would fit in with their roster. Like, basically do your research like anything, right? So go to their websites and check it out. And then also they'll have submission, really great, very clear submission rules, and follow them. They say if you do not follow them, like if it's not a Word document, it's not double spaced, they'll just ignore it. They'll, you're going to be a bit of a problem. So they're going to let it go. Follow their submission rules, follow up. They do look at those piles. They actually do. And same with agents. They'll do the same.
They will.
Yeah. And so you do get a lot of backing. I mean, the benefit of being able, it's a very solitary career. So having some of these really talented editors or art editors, designers, they really do help a lot in terms of making it the best and just helping you know where to go. It's a big benefit. The ones who I got an email this morning from two different groups that were looking to, like, would you like to publish your book? And I'm like, it just feels like a scam.
There's all that self-publishing now, and I still feel there's a, and I like the way you just put it. There's a way in between, right? It's not, you don't have to go to the big houses, you don't have to go to the tiny independents, but there's a way to, like, almost like a hybrid, right? You meet the right contacts, they hook you up with the right people, you find the right talent to help refine, because no matter what idea you have, there's a certain amount of refinement that you need to go out bigger into the world. You don't think there is, but when you get there, then you're like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And it should be, and there's also the thing that if someone's writing or an illustrator, if you're an illustrator, you want to send in your work as well, and I think a PDF form or whatever they want. But again, it's just like, why not you?
Right. Yeah. Right.
Like what I mean? Like, why? And I think that's what stops a lot of people. Like, well, why not you? And then if it doesn't happen, if you've hit everybody, and you can always come back and hit them again. If there are a lot of self-publishing options, and then you just kind of define what's my goal. Do I want to sell? I want to make my money back. That's great. I think that's a great goal. If I just want to get it out there, that's a great goal. You don't necessarily have to have a big house behind you to sell. And some people sell online, like either through Amazon's direct website.
Sure.
So you can find a way if you really want it, I think.
I'm curious, what were your favorite comic strips growing up in the Sunday paper?
Good one.
Oh, yeah. Well, of course, Calvin Hobbes, right?
My gosh,
and their side were like, just, like everybody. I guess we don't even have to say it anymore. So, watching them come out live was great. I like Dondi. I didn't know if you remember Dondi.
No.
Dondi.
No.
Oh, that's a great. It was a weird. It was just
we got chipped.
Pupil kind of thing.
Never saw it.
And I like For Better For Worse. I love Wizard of Id.
Wizard of Id. Yep, I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, Charlie. I mean, obviously Peanuts. Peanuts was just like Johnny Carson. It was like by the time I got into it, it's half funny, but I love the animation and his and it's just comforting, and the drawing is so phenomenal. It taught us, I think, how to see comics. I liked Winsor McKay from the back in the 30s.
What about Hagar the Horrible?
Hagar was great.
Hagar the Horrible, yeah. Hagar Horrible, High and Lois.
High and Lois, yeah.
Prince Valiant.
You know,
Yep.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
It's like 2 panels.
I never watched. I never read that.
Apartment 3G.
Yeah.
I know who's really getting into those. I like Funky Winklebean was a great one, and of course Doonesbury. Doonesbury was really
yeah. I mean, come on.
I was going to ask that, or was it Bloom County? Bloom County.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when Bloom County came out, and it was just like it was great because it was so irreverent. It was just a lighter, more funnier version of a different kind of version than Doonesbury. It was great.
Yeah. Oh, completely. Great question. I love that. So Hudson and Tullulah, Take Sides, another one by you and Anna, right?
Yes.
Yep. And so this, what was the creative? When did you guys think this up, and when can we look forward to it?
It comes out on May 1st of this year.
Okay.
And it's just coming. So yes, in the spring. And then Anna wrote this. She was kicking it around for a while, but I think she started looking at it maybe about probably 4 years ago. And, obviously it's the timing of it is great now. It really was about what was going on in the country. And at that point, it was so much less about like, how do we talk to each other when we see things so differently?
Right.
And that's actually a big part of also just being in school. Like, having kids in school, you recognize, especially in the early years, teachers are there to help the kids not only learn, but also to get them to, tolerate kids, the kid next to you who's sometimes a little hyper and this one does that. And who knows what's going on at home. And you got to learn how to navigate that. And they're stuck with each other side by side, pre-COVID, and, bullies on the playground, non-bullies, whatever. It's like what I think sometimes the grownups forget how to have those lessons. So it kind of explores what do you do with a cat and dog where they just see everything, the same inputs. You just see them differently.
Right.
And
especially now, I mean, look, with the onslaught of cyberbullying, and again, I'm going to sound like a really old man right now, but it's just things around, seriously, in the US, all over the world with social media, it's become too convenient. It's too convenient to just like put something out there and ruin someone's reputation, or, oh, I found this old photo and look, and then people start digging through the archives, or it's too convenient to call somebody a name and, on Twitter and just hide behind a photo of like Porky Pig or something and be like I'm the angry Porky Pig coming after you. Like, it's crazy. And people, and then kids, I know. And then kids are like on Facebook are like bullying other kids, and then unfortunately you have this higher rate of suicide right now with youth. And, so again, this type of work and body of work is so important to honestly respecting people's differences. How do you get along? And again, it's that harmony piece again. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to learn how to respect it and realize that you don't have to come after somebody because it's different,
Right.
I love that. So I'd love to just say that. And again, you guys will have your launch plans. Here's the future guest thing. The week before the book launches or the week of the book launch, depending, you guys let me know. We'll have Chris and Anna on, and we'll do the podcast book launch.
Yeah, no, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. We're getting into book launches, we're doing a celebrity birthday roast in a couple weeks. So we want to do these moments, these monumental moments. So
yeah, no, that's great.
I will email you and I will book you for this. This is great.
Yeah.
Love it. We'll talk mostly about it.
Okay. Yeah. No, this would be great. So my last question, and I like to ask this of certain guests, if your biography was coming out tomorrow and you had somebody else writing your biography, well, obviously it's not an autobiography. So yeah, someone else writing your biography, and Julie's going to get me for that one. Is there anything you would like rewritten? If you could change anything, is there anything, and maybe not, but is there anything you would rewrite? Maybe you've done something sooner, tweaked something a little differently.
Oh, that's great.
Take your time.
I don't know. I'm a firm believer. I've done some really stupid things, and I've done a lot of things I've regretted. But nothing like a crime or anything.
No.
Like publish, everything's content, so it's like,
yeah.
So, but it's like, no, but I think I really believe, I firmly believe in, do you remember there's that that there was that book called the Tao of Pooh.
Yeah.
About Winnie the Pooh, right. Okay. And that like got me into Taoism and I just finally made the connection that like if we are where we are and you're okay with it, then I needed all of that stuff to happen in order to be here. Do you know what I mean? So I would like to think if maybe I jumped on this career sooner, or maybe I could have gone, I would have even loved to have been in animation, or I'd love to just be cartooning sooner, but then maybe I wasn't ready.
Right.
So, or, could I had my kids late, you always wait, should I have them younger? So then I go, it hadn't worked out this way. I'm not smart enough to figure out how to make it all work.
Listen, no, totally.
I'm not going to mess with it.
Exactly. And listen, we've had people, we had one entrepreneur that started his own agency come on, and the only thing he said he would have done differently is like, don't use a credit card until you're 25. Yeah. He goes, just don't, like that was great advice. Like stay away from them,
Good tip.
It's true. Yeah, I don't think I didn't need a checking account. When I was in college, I bounced a lot of checks, and that was a problem.
There you go. Well, Chris, thank you so much for your valuable time. Chris. We know you have your choice of podcasts, and we're so happy that you joined us on ours.
That sounds like an airline announcement.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting into that.
That's great.
I will email you right away about late April or even the week of May 1st, depending. You guys pick what's best, but it'd be great to have you and your wife Anna on. Two talents. We'll celebrate the book launch. You might have to give the mic to Anna a little bit longer on that one, but I think you'll be okay with that.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be on. It's great to get to finally see you in person.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It was great talking with you.
We will stay in touch. And just so everybody listening knows, we've been talking with Chris Weyant, cartoonist and illustrator extraordinaire. You can see his work at The New Yorker. He's also been syndicated, Boston Globe. Absolutely. He's
Playboy?
Todd really likes the Playboy. Yeah. We'll stick with Boston Globe and The New Yorker. Boston Globe and The New Yorker. And he's in the books. He's got the he and his wife, #1 best-selling book, You Are Not Small. And that's the series, right? The whole series, You Are Not Small.
It's Not series, we call it.
Yep, the Not series. And as we just talked about, we're going to be celebrating the Hudson and Tullulah Take Sides, their newest book that'll be coming out May 1st. Yeah. So again, Chris, thank you so much. And if there's anything else you need, email me and we can plug it on our socials when we promote the show.
Fantastic. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Chris, excellent.
We're being here. So much fun.
We're going to wrap up real quick, but stay right there because I want to ask you something when we're done. So
this won't take long.
Yeah.
Yep. Don't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Another great show.
No, it was great.
And this,
I loved it. And you want to know what I love too is that he didn't even go to art school, specific. Right. I went to art school. Yeah. I went to art school and I never utilized it.
Well, it may have informed you being the comedian you are today.
It could have, but in a way I did because he's an illustrator, right? And everything I went into advertising and it was just everything regimented. You follow the guidelines. And if you go outside the guidelines, there's no creativity. It was no fun. So that's why I'm happy that I'm where I am now, with
absolutely
with comedy. So.
And that's the thing. Sometimes it takes time. You think you're going to be on this path. Chris was on that path. It's like, and his parents are like, now you're in school. You're going to be a lawyer. And it's like, you don't have to follow that path. He went and tried it. Yeah. He didn't like it. I went to, do you know my first job? I walked in, I was at JP Morgan in the early 90s.
Really? I never knew that. I got to interview you.
Well, we will eventually. Yeah. I was at JP Morgan in the early 90s. Two of my friends from high school, college, we were all excited and we all got jobs. And at the time we were making $28,000 a year. We were all really pumped about it.
Yeah.
I walked in there. No, they were loving it. I looked and saw the people breathing heavy, drinking, smoking, sitting at the desk, on the phone, screaming, running around. The sleeves rolled up. Well, I didn't see that. Yeah. But, the loose ties. I was just like, this just isn't for me. It's like, I'm going to go be a shop girl at some retail store and then I'll just figure it out. And that's exactly what I did.
You're a great shop girl.
I was a great shop girl at the time. It informed who I am today. Yeah. But it's important. And again, I can't emphasize enough to everybody, just to wrap this up, if you're going to make the jump into something, it's okay to be a little bit prepared. And I love that, Chris, he did what he did. He saved his money. He set a time for himself. He said, this is my time to investigate this. He still worked while he did it.
Right.
And I just don't think enough people today are doing that and realize like half of that fear, if you can just there's still going to be fear, but if you can quell the, hey, I'm still going to be making some money. I have enough money for X amount of months or a year and a half or whatever it is to do this. And in this time, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make contacts, and it's going to inform how I go forward. And either I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. And a lot of people end up not doing it. We know that. They fall back to their safety school, and that's fine. Go back to your safety school and make a success there. Yeah. But there are those that really prepared, that take those chances, meet those people, and then they take that leap. And that's the difference.
Yep. It's a huge difference.
Is the difference.
Yep. So it was great. Great show.
Great show.
Yeah. All right. Say goodbye, George.
Goodbye, George.